fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top here.
Oh my God!
Oh. Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get full.
It's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Hello and welcome to round 4 of the NTE Dry Series Cup, coming to you live tonight from Interlagos in Brazil. We saw a fantastic race last time out at Barcelona, which we'll quickly touch on very, very soon. But joining me in the commentary booth tonight, we have, as always, Hayden McMahon alongside me tonight, and back behind the cameras, as always, providing us the fantastic videos that we've seen, or the feeds that we've seen throughout the first 3 rounds of this championship. We have Jake Kennedy from SimSpeed helping us out. Series sponsors tonight, we'll give a quick shout out to these guys because they have been massive support in keeping the series going and bringing us the NTE Dry Series Cup. First up tonight, we've got Shannons Insurance for all your local Australian insurance needs, whether it's car or home insurance. Check them out. Done a fantastic job, and they've been a long-time supporter of the NTE series. Secondly, we've got Roadrunner Logistics, which are an asphalting and civil works. And we've also got the Breaking Late podcast, which you can go and find some fantastic reviews on the round recap, and another great job from those guys there also. And last but not least, SimSpeed TV, who, as we said before, have been fantastic in coming on board for the NTE Dry Series Cup and give us some fantastic pictures, which we've seen throughout the course of the championship so far. And for anyone looking to join in, check us out on the NTE socials, on Facebook at the NTE Series, and also on their website, nteseries.com.au. Hayden, great to have you back for what is the 4th round of the 5-round championship. Seen some fantastic racing last time out at Barcelona, mate, but it's great to have you back for the 4th and second to last round.
Yeah, fantastic to be back here with everybody to watch some more fantastic racing. The NTE series has really provided some great moments so far in our 3 rounds, and that's exactly what we can expect tonight. It's going to be a great racing night, Dan.
It certainly will be, and as we have a look at the championship standings so far, it's starting to really heat up towards the top end of town. Jack Whittis got a 60-point lead over Chris Mitchell, and we'll touch on those guys because they had pretty interesting races last time out at Barcelona and were race 1 and race 2 winners respectively. Guy Leach sitting there in 3rd position on 579 points, 18 points clear of his teammate Paul Mansell there in 4th position. John Bradshaw just sitting in 5th, looking to try and make up a few more points there. And Maverick Benson, we didn't see him out last time, and that has really had a dent in his championship. Hayden now dropped from the 1st position, leading down into 6th spot there at the moment. So a little bit of damage limitation in the final few rounds for him.
Yeah, it is one of those things. To finish first you must finish. To finish first, you must start. And it's something that's affected not just Benson, but also the likes of Gianni Luzzu in this series, is to be up to the pointy end, you really got to show up.
Absolutely. And then the last of the guys inside the top 10, Ray Oliver doing a stellar job to keep that car out on circuit. Jack Swainpole there in 8th position, 447 points gained for him so far. Dean Power on 422 and in 9th, and Zach Walt-Smith bringing in the top 10, 431 points. But let's have a quick chat about last round. We saw some interesting racing at Barcelona. The strategy again came well into play, Hayden. And we saw 2 different race winners going out there, with Chris Mitchell taking race 1 and Jack Whittis, same old, getting race 2 winners.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. These are 2 of the guys we're seeing a lot of consistency from. Whittis is always there or thereabouts. He's won a race in every round we've had so far. And Mitchell as well is a bit of a force to be reckoned with. So the strategy came into it, and just to sort of touch on that, our rules here are pretty simple. You've got to have a pit stop at some stage. It's 2 separate races. When you take your pit stop's entirely up to you, and it is actually a really important strategy call, because if you're losing the first race, you're not going to get much done. It's time to take your pit stop and hopefully put all your eggs into that one basket and set yourself up for a great race too.
Well, that's it. It's all important. I mean, qualifying is 15 minutes for the guys to set the opening grid for race 1 there, and then it's the finishing positions of race 1 which dictate the grid for race 2. And what we've seen so far with the way the strategy has played out, it's been a really mixed bag of whether those guys choose to take in race 1 or subsequently in race 2.
Absolutely, and it's worked really well for some guys. We've seen guys get big points by calling it early in race 1 and setting themselves up for race 2, because the reality is the quickest guys that start in the front of the grid are not going to want to throw away a 5th or 6th or 7th or 1st place position to take an early pit stop. So if you take that early pit stop, you put yourself in the driver's seat to really have a chance at winning in the second race. And it is one of the really interesting things about our series, and something I'm sure we'll see play out tonight.
Absolutely, and as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, on the screen at the moment, just a quick look at the race format for the guys. If you're first tuning in for first time in the series, 2 25-minute races, 1 pit stop over the 2 races that drivers definitely need to take, and they need to get 2 tyres on the car. And as we say, it's the driver's choice which race they decide to take that pit stop. But when they do, in the way the timing has been lovely put together by the guys at SimSpeed, you'll get a blue little indicator across those drivers. So it's a nice way for us to be able to see who has taken those pit stops and where they are on circuit. We'll have a quick look at the track map tonight at the Interlagos circuit, a famed track for anyone familiar with Formula One, World Endurance Championship, or a staple on the iRacing calendar. And it's an interesting circuit, Hayden. It's 15 turns tonight. We're looking at 4.3 kilometres around here, or 2.67 miles, but some really tricky corners for the drivers that they're going to need to keep an eye on. The likes of down into turn 1 through 3, through the centre S and down onto that back straight there. The run off the back straight into turn 4 is really tricky for these guys, because it's very easy to rotate those cars off and out into the weeds there. Turn 7, 8 and 9, the long run up there into the hairpins, and it's almost like a triple hairpin for the guys to be able to look and get those crisscross manoeuvres back through. And then the big one, I think, mate, is going to be turn 12 up into the Junco corner. It's a very wide entry, but it narrows on exit for these guys, and we have seen already a few guys finding their way out into the grass tonight.
Yeah, it's something we've seen a lot of. It's the pendulum effect of these Porsches in our earlier races this season. So this is one of those tracks that will really bring that out through those sweeping corners. And also any time where you're seeing a high-speed section into a tight hairpin, which Interlagos has a number of, you're going to see some drama in esports.
We certainly will. Pit stops tonight are going to be critical when the guys do come in, and it's a very fast run into the pit lane here, much like we saw at Montreal. The guys here will be coming in off the back straight. There is a bit of a rise before they get up to the cones and to the pit limit window there, but easy to overshoot and then have a little bit of an issue. But it's also a very unique exit for the guys here, as you can see on the screen. They come out right next to the inside of turn 1, but they don't rejoin the circuit again until the back straight.
Yeah, a bit different there, where they're not, the track's not really sort of set up in such a way that it'd be safe for them to enter anywhere else. So we put them back out on the back straight there, and they'll be drag racing on some cold tyres up into that very tight.
They certainly will. We're only 30 seconds away from qualifying getting underway. We've already seen some good times from the guys out in practice at the moment. The usual suspects up towards the front. Jack Wittes leading the way, 1:33.62 for him. Guy Leach looking very racy out there tonight. His best of a 1:33.68, so 0.06 of a second behind Jack Wittes there. Chris Mitchell, another 1/10 of a second, or 100th of a second, behind Guy Leach in third. So very quick times from the top 3. But we're not seeing a huge spread up and down throughout the field. We're looking at about 4 seconds from top to bottom at the moment.
Yeah, a bit more broad than what we're normally used to seeing here, but those usual suspects that you mentioned there are well and truly got the racing shoes on, and they're out for a great time here tonight.
They certainly are. We're just about to kick over to qualifying, so this will be an interesting one to set the opening grid for race 1. Hayden, any guys you're particularly keeping an eye out here for tonight to maybe steal the pole position?
Yeah, you've always got to watch Jack Whittis. He's currently sitting on the top of our table here. He's won a race in every single event we've held so far this season. Definitely keep an eye on Jack Whittis in the 898 there. Chris Mitchell as well. He's not far behind him in the way they're forming up. He'll be a man to watch as well. And honestly, this whole field is actually pretty potent. And those top 10 guys that are going to be on the track first here are all well and truly capable of setting the fastest lap.
They certainly are. And I mean, based on what we saw at the end of qualifying, of practice, 1:33.6s, we're likely to be in towards that same territory, maybe a little bit quicker as this session unfolds. The guys will try and lighten down the cars towards the back end of that 15-minute qualifying session, throw on some fresh boots, and head out again as we have a look at some of the drivers that are providing some webcam view into their private sim racing domains at the moment. We're having a look here at Jared Burns, and mate, we've seen this set up a couple of times throughout the season. It is phenomenal the way he's got this set up.
This has got to be the coolest setup out of the whole lot, I reckon. You know, we've got the RGB keyboard, we've got the button box, we've got the tablets, we've got the screens, we've got the whole lot. The amount of investment and fiddling that goes into getting the perfect sim racing setup is something that cannot be understated. And I tip my hat to Jared, because I would love to have a go in the sim.
Yeah, it's a great looking piece of kit there, and we saw I think it was Montreal. We looked in on him at the start of the race, and it was interesting to get that sort of driver's eye view of how things unfold. Let's have a look here at Dean Hunt, eyes on, focused. Another one of the Beard Brigade. Good to have him on board, and we've just got a really good graphical shot there of turn 12. This is his opening out lap, and it was a bit of a struggle to get that car across the apex.
Yeah, one of our facial hair brigade out there. We do have a number of guys rocking mows and beards and the whole lot. It's part of the fun of the E-Series here, the NTE Series, is the guys get involved, they turn the cameras on themselves, and you can see the focus that goes into turning one of these beasts around Interlagos.
You certainly can. It's really interesting, and it's not an easy circuit. It looks relatively simple on the layout, but once you get behind the wheel, very, very tricky to work your way through. As we have a look here, this is Dean Power on board, and he's got Fanatec gear there as well. This is a great look back into the eyes, and we'll get a good look here as he works his way down in towards turn 4. Just the focus that goes on, and you can see there that little bit of a moment. We've got the visual reference of it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool to watch him have that little bit of a moment and watch the reaction there. Dean Power's very quick. He's actually in the top 10 in our series at the moment, and he wouldn't be happy with that off, but he's still got 12 minutes in our qualifying session to get out there and set himself a really solid lap.
Yeah, definitely. This will be a null and void lap with that off track, but he'll be able to work his way back through there. As you have a look at Tyson Anderson, and mate, he is giving Michael Gore here a bit of a run in the CD MoMA stash contest at the moment. It's not too bad, although just needs the VR goggles, and you can swear you were looking at the replica of Michael Gore.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to have a crack in November coming up, I reckon, and hopefully, maybe we could get behind it as the NTE series and try to raise some money for a charity. But it is really great to see these guys get amongst it, have a good time, and enjoy their racing as well.
It certainly is. And speaking of the man, the myth, the legend, the Filthy Mo, up on screen here at the moment, the broom handle out under the VR goggles. Mate, he has not changed that look for a couple of seasons now. We saw it first in the Shannons NTE series with the supercars and the TCR. He's brought it back for the NTE Dry Series.
Yeah, it is the hashtag the Filthy Mo. He's a bit of a legend in this series. He hosts a podcast. He's up and about with all the drivers, and he's a really big part of it. So we love having Michael Gore out there. He's also, it is worth noting, a very capable driver as well.
He certainly is. He's done a stellar job throughout the course of this season. As we see one of the guys there just having a moment. That's up towards turn 7. So that's Seb Murray Westberg. He's another one of our drivers with the VR on tonight. So that would have given the old Melon a bit of a shake-up as he's gone off there, but just trying to work his way back into the fray here and let the guys cycle their way through. Now we get some interesting cams from Seb here. We've got the pedal cam as well as the look back at the driver, and this might be an interesting one. We might see if we can hang on board here and have a look at the pedal work that goes into a lap around here at Interlagos.
Yeah, it's big props to Seb for showing us this camera, because it is actually really fascinating to watch. So the amount of pressure that he applies to the brakes, the amount of feathering that goes through the throttle on the Porsche, and just the finesse that is required to drive something like this fast on this platform is something that cannot be understated.
No, not at all. And we're running our way down the back straight. We've got a car that's just had a moment there and spun off, so he's had to abort this lap, and it's a big one into the pit lane. But this is a good look. I mean, we now get to check out what it's like for these guys getting themselves into the pit lane there in avoidance. And he did a good job in that one. We might have a quick look too down the timing and scoring. We're starting to get some of our qualifying results coming our way, Hayden, now. And up front, Chris Mitchell, 133.89. So about 2/10 off what we saw in the practice session. But he is ahead of Jack Widders, who set himself a 133.97. Guy Leach there sitting there in fourth, 133.83, who just had a massive moment down off turn 8 there. And that's a hard lick into the wall, so he'll reboot and head back to the lane. But we'll have a look at how this one unfolded, because that was a big hit.
Yeah, we're on board with him here by the looks of things, and he's onto the power. He's currently sitting third in our championship, just gets a touch of grass, the Porsche pirouette, and he's facing the wrong direction. It looks like he's cleaned someone else up in the process. So still a bit of time on the qualifying session here. Hopefully they'll get back out there.
Yeah, definitely. I did hear over the race control channel there an apology for that contact. So the consummate professional there, and it was actually Chris Mitchell that just clipped the side of that Porsche. So a little bit of damage, but no harm, no foul. Down a little bit further, we've got Justin McLean there sitting in fourth position, 134.6. John Bradshaw just bringing up the top 5 in a 134.9. A few of our other drivers a little further down the order, probably than what we would have expected at the moment, though, with the likes of Michael Thomas down with a 136 as his previous best. We'll see whether he can improve across the line, and he does. That gets him up the order into, I think it's 11th position there, so that's a good drive from him. That was a 136 flat, so that was a nice improvement, Hayden.
Yeah, and there's actually quite a lot of talent all through this field. We talk about it a lot. We talk about the guys that are pointy end with Mitchell, with Widders, and with Guy Leach. They're the top 3 in our championship and the top 3 on our board so far. But as you look through and you look at guys like John Bradshaw and McLean and Zach Smith and Brewer and Oliver, all the way through the field, all the way down into the McMillans and Michael Gore, and all the way through, we have a lot of talent and a lot of guys that on a really good day can definitely get out there and hang with the best of them. The really cool thing about the way we do this and the way we have that strategical pit stop is all of these guys are going to have to race all of the other guys at some stage, and you get to see that type of thing and that type of craftsmanship really come to play.
You certainly do, and I think that's made it rather interesting for the guys trying to work out when they want to come in for those pit stops, when they don't. Now, we've seen a few of the front runners, as we look at James Seitz, they just make a little bit of a bobble into turn 1 and abort. This probably will abort that lap for him. But we have seen some interesting ones with the likes of Widders at Montreal going in for the early race 1 pit stop. And then, subsequently he got a penalty, and that did hurt his run in that race. But we've seen not too many up towards the sharp end really take that pit stop in the opening race. It's been a lot of our sort of midfield to back runners that have tended to do it.
And it's brought them wins too. You know, we've seen wins from guys you wouldn't necessarily expect it from, and also high finishing positions from people who really play the strategy well, and most importantly, manage to keep it clean. Because when you're sitting there, on the start of that second race, you know that you've got a distinct advantage over pretty much everyone in front of you. They're going to have to pit. They're going to lose 30 or 40 seconds. You don't have to worry about them. You have to keep it clean. You have to keep the guys behind you, and you have to just run a solid race, and that is easier said than done.
So, and then I guess the other big thing that we haven't really touched on, and I know we've spoke about it over the course of this championship so far, is the fact that all these cars are a fixed setup. So at certain tracks it might favour particular drivers more so than others. As you have a look, Jared Burns there, not able to complete the lap last time by for him, so he's about to start his next one, currently sitting there in 10th. But it's that driving style that's a big factor for these guys. The fixed setup may not favour everyone, and it's about driver adaptability to get the most out of it.
That's it. You're not going to win this race in your tuning setup. It's a fixed setup. Everybody's got exactly the same shovel. So how you choose to dig your hole and how you drive your race car is how you win this event. So it's good. It's an even playing field. The man who adapts best to the car he's given and drives it the best and saves his tyres and stays out of trouble is going to be the guy that ends this event at the top of the table.
Certainly is here. Just having a look at Chris Mitchell working his way around for a lap, and his best at the moment 133.95, which actually that was his previous lap. His best, sorry, is 133.89. So still a little bit of time left in it. As we said, we saw the guys down in the 33.6s towards the end of practice here, but this middle part of the sector, Hayden, is going to be really critical for him. The cars are tricky to get through. We've already seen Guy Leach have a moment down in towards turn 10, but with the Porsche, it's tough to keep the back end of this car settled.
Absolutely. It's very sweeping. It's very much on the limit for a long amount of time. Left, right, always right on the raggedy edge. And Mitchell is doing a great job. This looks like a pretty tidy lap. A little bit of oversteer there. You don't want that heading onto the back straight. It's going to cost him a bit of top-end speed. But this looks like it's going to be a pretty tidy lap here.
It certainly does, and he's given himself a little bit of breathing room as he comes across the line. We'll wait to see if this is an improvement on what he has done so far, and it's a 33.93, just marginally slower than his best at the moment. Still holding on to first position over Jack Wittes by 800ths of a second, so nothing in it between those guys, but it's a further 0.5 of a second back to Guy Leach and a second almost off Seb Murray-Westberg, so plenty of time left for those guys to work their way through. Ray Oliver looking very handy as always, still sitting inside our top 10 in the point summary as we detailed earlier, but he's down in 12th position at the moment. His best 36 flat around this circuit, and he'll definitely be looking to try and improve that marginally.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely be looking to get into the pointy end here. Sitting in 12th is not quite where he wants to be. As you said, he is currently 7th in our championship standings. He's had a couple of podiums as well, so Ray Oliver's definitely someone capable of some good driving, and he'll be really hoping to get a solid lap, either this flying lap or the one to follow.
Yeah, and his racecraft throughout the course of the season has been fantastic as well, as you can say, by the points haul that he's managed to get himself there, but very clean and capable driver. That time through, 1:35.066, so not an improvement on that lap, but a little bit of time left in it. But this lap going to be null and void there. You can just see he gets the curb and rotates the back of the Porsche around, does keep it off the tyre barrier, so that's a fortunate thing. Shouldn't hurt him too much, but we might see him back in the lane momentarily. Dean Powell looking good. You can see that nice big wide entry into turn 12 here, trying to maximise the speed on mid-corner and exit. His best was a 1:34.8 as he works his way up this massively long back straight. To everyone who remembers Formula One, we've seen Max Verstappen with a phenomenal save there in the wet. We saw that monstrous crash from Mark Webber in the Porsche 919, the World Endurance Championship, when he was still racing. But for Dean Powell, gets it through nicely, sitting there in 8th position, and it was a 1:34.875. So didn't really improve too much on that one, but looking very, very good. And he actually now is equal with Tim Nichols there, Hayden, for 7th position.
And that's good. That's what I want to see. Very close competitive. Look at Jack Wittes on the absolute edge there. We've seen some three-wheeling in the Porsche tricycle there. He's pushing this thing to the limit. He doesn't want to be starting in second. Wittes wants to be starting on pole, but Mitchell put a solid stamp on this one.
Yeah, look, to be fair, with the rolling start that we have in this championship, starting on the front row, whether it be first or second, not the worst that you could have there, but we'll have a look quickly back at the replay just to see if we can watch out and see what unfolded there as he takes that long, wide entry, kept it off the curb, and I think that was the little bit that got him there. He's picked up the curb on the outside. It does fall away a bit towards the grass there, and that's led to the back end of that car, just stepping out on power down.
Very good images as always from our sim speed guys. It's pretty cool footage, you got to say. This is James Zeitz. He's currently sitting in 23rd there in the Makita car. And Zeitz has been a guy, he's turned up to every race and he's always putting in his best effort. He's had a best finishing result so far of 11th, which was in the last round out there. But he's always kind of there or thereabouts in our mid-pack.
Yeah,
Michael, this is a similar type of driver as well there, Dan.
Well, yeah, Hakitis has done a stellar job throughout the course of the season there as John Bradshaw gets that car up into 4th position. So that's a good qualifying for him as we're now down to 30 seconds left on the box. But Hakitis has done a stellar job there, and Zeitz still hunting down that Makita. He's been chasing that all season, but he gets a little bit in the way here of Wittes, and that's going to avoid Jack Wittes there, that final lap as he now closes that one out. We'll see whether Zeitz is able to improve and get himself a little further up towards the sharp end, or whether this one is into the lane. He's going to go around and see what this looks like as he gets there. I think that was an out lap for him, and he's just going to miss the cuff to start one more lap. But that brings qualifying to an end to the start of race 1 We've got a couple of minutes before we get underway, and we'll take a quick look down through the starting grid to see where your favourite driver is getting off the line tonight. As you see off the front row, we've got Chris Mitchell alongside Jack Wittes. Guy Leach will start in third position alongside John Bradshaw. Seb Murray-Westberg alongside Justin McLean for row 3. Row 4 tonight, we'll see Tim Nichols and Dean Powell. Row 5, Paul Mansell and Zach Walt-Smith. Row 6, Jacob Brewer and Ray Oliver. Row 7 will be Jack Swainpole and Jared Burns. Row 8, Dean Hunt and Cameron Edwards. Row 9 is Bradley Minchell and Brendan McMullen. Row 10, Matthew McMullen and Tyrone Anderson. James Zeitz and Dylan Saints in row 11. Row 12 will be Michael Gore and Michael Thompson. Row 13, Cooper Dunn and Michael Hakitis. Row 14 tonight, we'll see Shane Newens alongside John Van Ree. And then we have our course car and race control. They won't be a part of it, but we will see the course car take to the start of this grid to lead us away as we get through. As we said earlier, two 25-minute races ahead of us now, fixed setups, and the drivers got to get that one pit stop in, either race 1 or race 2. And Hayden, looks like a stellar lineup for all the guys out there tonight.
Absolutely. It's some of our real mainstays here in the series and in the championship. And at the pointy end, we've got some of the guys that are really, really going for the outright win in our series. So it's always a shame when you don't see some of the very quickest guys at the event. But the people we have out there tonight, Dan, are going to put on a heck of a show, and they're really going to push for the wins.
They certainly are. I'm just keeping a look at the guys we've got on the live stream as well. Just saw Dean Hunt getting the gloves on and ready to go. We've got Tyrone Anderson just checking the last bit of info on the Facebook and looking pretty ready to rock and roll. Dean Power's eager to get going. So the guys here are ready and raring, and we'll be getting away momentarily, and we'll see the pace car come up to the front. And for all the guys that are out there tonight, you can see all our drivers up on the feed. Dean Hunt having a bit of a cheeky smile as he gets ready to go.
Yeah, that's a wall of champions right there, and these guys are well and truly going to be putting their best in and trying to set the quickest laps possible, trying to keep it clean, and trying to end the night with a really good result.
They certainly are. So we're just going to see the guys starting to form up now. The pace car has left the lane, and we will see our drivers start to work their way up towards the back here and get set for our rolling race start tonight. A little bit of a time for the guys to work their way through, and then we'll get the 2x2 side action. And Hayden, what are your thoughts going off into turn 1 tonight? We already touched on that's going to be a tricky one. It's a wide entry for the guys to work their way through. What are we expecting? Any contact potentially?
Yeah, you're always going to keep your eye out for that turn 1 contact, lap 1, race 1. It's something that happens pretty regularly in all motorsport. You know, it's going to be an interesting one because it is a very tight corner as well, coming off quite a fast lead-in. Our dual roll sort of manual rolling start that we do here, we've had a lot of luck with it this series. We've seen a lot of clean races, but the race ones do tend to get a little bit messy. So it's definitely going to be a moment to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone who watched the Barcelona race, we saw a pretty wild and ragged opening lap to race 1 there. Fortunately, it did settle down coming into race 2, and hopefully tonight, as we see the guys working their way up through turn 7 in towards turn 8, we will continue to see a nice, clean run through here. Turn 1 will be tricky, and then the run down in towards turn 4 off the back straight. We might see a few guys trying to thread the needle, send one up the inside, and gain those couple of early positions while the drivers are just focusing in on their strategies.
Absolutely, and it's some really cool pictures here. SimSpeed really knocking this one out of the park tonight. See that beautiful Aston Martin course car. Everybody's pretty much in shape, ready for the flag to drop, and we'll be racing very shortly, Dan.
Yeah, we'll see the pace car get away from the field momentarily. That will hand over control to Chris Mitchell, and it'll be interesting to see where he decides to get the jump on the field here tonight. I would expect, with the size of the long straight that we've got here, it's going to be towards the very end of the control line before we see these guys get underway. As the field now gets themselves up onto that back straight. The pace car's just bringing everyone into line here. And we will see the field momentarily handed over. The pace car has begun to pull away from the field, and control now handed over to Chris Mitchell. Guys are 2 by 2. And as you see them work up towards the line, it'll be interesting to see if anyone goes around. We've already got a spinner down the back.
That's Ray Oliver facing the wrong way there. That's not how he wants to start the race. This is not ideal.
Not at all. And I think there's some confusion over the race control radio I'm hearing on the start of that one with Ray Oliver going around. We'll see whether he comes through. But it looks like there's going to be an extension for one more lap here for everyone to get themselves back in order. So a bit of a tardy start there. We'll get one more slow time for everyone through, Hayden.
Yeah, it's a good thing that there was no damage sustained there by the look of things, and he's going to thread his way back into his rightful starting position. It's quite good to see the guys. There's a bit of damage on the front bar there, so we'll see how that affects his race, and we'll actually get to see what's going on here, Dan.
Yeah, so I think from what I could hear over the race control channel, a lot of this started because there was a call for green from race control early on that was misinterpreted by the sounds of it. And this is the look at how it all unfolded as they come around that turn 15 corner. And we've just heard the green, and then the guys have just run into the back there. And we've got a few guys missing the runoff by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's not quite how we've seen all of our races start so far. Like I said, we've run 6 races this series so far with this dual file rolling start system, and a bit of a misfire, but hopefully no major harm done. The guys look to be getting themselves back into position, and we'll be racing very, very shortly.
Yeah, the one thing we will need to keep an eye on, though, will be that damage on the front of his car there as well, because the front end of that Porsche not looking very healthy after that contact with the wall. So that will have a little bit of an issue with top speed around this circuit, may also cause a little bit of steering control issue as well, trying to get this car around this circuit. So definitely one to keep an eye on, and potentially one of our early drivers that we'll see coming down to get that pit stop done and dusted.
And that's the thing. If he's got major damage, this is his perfect excuse to adopt the strategy we spoke about earlier, get the race one, write it off, swallow that pit stop, and get himself in the driver's seat for race 2, which is a strategy that's played out well for pretty much everyone who's really, really committed to it so far this series.
We certainly have. Well, we've had another lap here just to calm the nerves, and hopefully we've got everyone back in check to where they need to be. We'll see the safety car roll away from the field once we get around turn 12. Hopefully no calls for alarm with the guys getting away. You can see the field back to forming up down through turn 12. Now Chris Mitchell will be in control here momentarily. We'll see the safety car again pull away from the field as it does so just now. Chris Mitchell now leading in control of this race. Let's get a look at where he wants to get the jump on. We'll wait for the call for green to go on this one. The field formed up nicely down through turn 15. Head towards the start-finish line to begin race 1, round 4 here at Interlagos. This will be an exciting one. Green flag has been called. Race is underway. And 18 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock to see who will be crowned our race 1 winner. And they're already fanning out 3 and 4 wide on the run here up into turn 1. Chris Mitchell with a nice job there, holding on to turn 1. But we've got some big divers down the inside, trying to thread the needle and gain a few spots. And we've already got Justin McLean up into second position off the start there. 4 spots gained. We've got cars in the wall down into turn 2.
Oh, there is drama there. I was going to say 4 into 1 doesn't go, and he got away with it, but there's big issues at the back of the field here. You hate to see it, Dan. You really do, as we see even more people spinning off into the distance in the back.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward start there for that mid-pack. Looked like Michael Akitas, one of those cars involved in that one there, but a cracking start there from Justin McLean. Down the inside, no contact for him, and 4 spots off the rip to get himself now up into that second position. Jack Widders drops to 3rd, Guy Leach down in 4th, John Bradshaw in 5th. A little further down the field, we're just having a look at Zach Walt-Smith working his way through. He is down in 9th position, 1 spot gained off the start of this one, and he is looking at the back there of Paul Mansell up in towards turn 10, but Seb Murray Westberg is not going to make this one easy for him. He's going to keep the nose in around the outside and see if he can come back through. And Jack Widders already back into second position, Hayden.
Yeah, Jack's obviously managed to get the job back done there again. He's very, very capable driver, but that move into turn 1 was one of the braver things I've seen this series, and the fact he made that stick nice and clean was a real credit to him.
Yeah, he did a great job there. Tim Nichols, another driver we've just seen have a moment off in the weeds. He'll be looking to try and get that car back underway. I think that's down on turn 12 where he's had an issue. So we'll see whether he can get himself back into contention. As Justin McLean, Jack Wald-Smith and Guy Leach with the best seat in the house to watch this all unfold as they get into each other. And Leachy picks up an extra spot with the side-to-side contact up into third.
I'm glad nothing major came out of that, because that was looking very bad for a minute there.
Well, hey, we've got 16 minutes left on the clock in this one, and they're going at it like it's the last minute of the Le Mans 24 hour at the moment. But nothing is being left on the table here, and Guy Leach trying to get up one more spot into second position right on the back tail of Jack Whittis as they head up towards turn 7. These two very equally matched. John Bradshaw now up into fourth position, just in behind. Guy Leach said Justin McLean drops back to fifth from what was an initial jump into second place. So all unfolding here in the early laps.
And if you're Chris Mitchell, you're watching this in the rearview mirror and you are cheering, because while these guys are tussling, he's managing to put down good laps and hopefully get himself a bit of a buffer and just let him fight.
Well, he certainly is. I mean, the gap at the moment, 2.2 seconds for Chris Mitchell. Like, he is driven away from this field while all the battling is going on there down in second position. And as you say, this is rightfully helping him out nicely as he works his way through. The scrap in the mid-pack started to ease just a little bit. Looks like we've got Jack Whittis getting a little bit of an advantage now over Guy Leach, but we'll see that come back into contention at the turn 1 complex. Dean Hunt has gone around there. That's down at on the exit at turn 12 by the looks of it, and that will see him drop a little bit further down. And our first pit stopper of the night, Seb Murray-Westberg here, Hayden, in on lap 3.
Yeah, and I think he was caught up in the earlier drama, and this is the perfect example of the strategy we talked about. He's just taken himself out of the running for this race effectively, but he's hopefully betting on the long game and hoping to be in it for race 2.
He certainly is, but we should see him work his way back up through the race here as well. Still 15 minutes on the clock, and we know he is very adept in these cars at keeping the tyre life under him. But it is going to set him up well if he can gain a few more spots in for race 2, knowing that he doesn't need to come back down the lane one more time. If we have a look at this scrap, that's Justin McLean we're looking at here. And John Bradshaw. These guys up through the turn 8, 9, 10 complex. You can see Whittis and Guy Leach just a little bit further ahead in the windscreen there. And already around turn 10, we've got Chris Mitchell.
McLean definitely earned the bravest driver of the night so far with his big move. But it's a shame he's fallen back a bit, but he wouldn't be. His night's not over, the job's not done, and he'll be well and truly trying to fight his way back up and give Whittis a solid round 2.
Certainly will be, as we see the guys now starting to really settle out. That gap continuing to increase at the front of the field, 2.8 seconds. But it's the battle in the mid-pack that has really got everyone's eyes at the moment as Jack Swainpole and Jacob Brewer go at it for 10th position. These guys have already gained a couple of spots here as Brewer into the pits as well. So that's our second driver in the lane early on.
And it's definitely that strategy call. It's becoming a lot more well used, I think it's fair to say. The further we go into this series, people are getting a better understanding of how useful that is and how the championship points are calculated to that. You are much better off having a really solid one race and a pretty average second than 2 average ones. But it looks like that might have actually been a drive-through penalty there, Dan.
Well, that's an interesting one. If that's the drive-through, we'll keep an eye on that, because that will be interesting to see whether he has picked up that penalty. We don't have the call from race control yet, but we'll keep an eye on that one as the racing continuing on. We've already had quite a few guys in the lane, as we touched on earlier as well, Hayden. So Murray-Westberg's come through. Ray Oliver, from that contact we saw in the aborted lap 1 start, he's come down the lane. Dean Hunt's in there, Tim Nichols in there, Cameron Edwards, Tyrone Anderson's in the lane at the moment also. Shane Ewan's come through, Dylan Sykes, Michael Akitas, who we saw having issues on the start of the race there, and Michael Thompson has come through as well.
A lot of those guys were victims, I think, in that initial tussle, but that is, that's part of the game. Unfortunately, they'll be still going out there trying to get the best result they can here, because the finishing position in race 1 will be the qualifying position for race 2, Dan.
It certainly will. And there we go. Car 25 with the drive-through penalty for contact with the 99, which is Ray Oliver, and that is a pit lane drive-through. So that was, just trying to pick up the car in question. So
As we watch Jack Widders just pulled in the pit lane from second position, Dan.
Now that's an interesting one for the night. That will really throw the eyes open for all the guys keeping an eye on that one, as himself, Jared Byrne, is in, and Brewer back in the lane as well. So this is an interesting strategy for him, because he was very quick when he played this strategy at Montreal. We saw him come right back up through the field. This could work out quite nicely for him tonight.
Yeah, it's almost like he accepted that first position wasn't achievable, and not satisfied with a second. He's just put a big bet on managing to do two completely clean races and finish first in the second one. So Jack's going to be driving like a man possessed here, and you just watch him take positions in this race, Dan. It's going to be something to watch.
It certainly will be, no, but he will work his way back through the field nicely. And as I said, we've seen him through this strategy once before at Montreal, and we know in race one at that event he did manage to get himself a few drive-through penalties along the way, but ultimately it worked out quite nicely for him. Come the second race, he was able to get himself up towards the sharp end of the field. This little battle looking very healthy here at the moment, down off turn 12. We'll keep an eye on that one. We'll have a look at a few more guys further around.
Yeah, so car 69, we're riding with him now. It looks like he's got two separate drive-through penalties, Tyrone Anderson, through two separate incidents. So not sure exactly what's going on there, Dan.
No, we'll have to keep an eye on that. We might see if we can find out some more info from race control when we get into the back end of the event tonight, and see if what's transpired from that one. But that is definitely going to hurt him. And I wonder if he was maybe caught up in that contact earlier on. As we see, one of them is an unsafe rejoin for contact with the 515, and that's John Van Ree that he had the contact with. And we'll see if we can find out what that second drive-through will be. But that is going to really put a hurt on the run that he has had so far tonight.
And yeah, contact with the 56 as well. So not a great night for him. He's sort of put into a pretty bad position going through two drive-throughs, but it is part of the game, unfortunately.
We have a look back at the leaders of the race. Chris Mitchell doing a stellar job, 4.1 second advantage at the moment over Guy Leach, who in turn has himself a second advantage there over John Bradshaw. Justin McLean still in a stellar scrap with John over that third position, 0.2 of a second separating those guys. And I wouldn't mind betting here on the run up towards turn one with the way that Justin's holding that car in. He is looking for a dive through into turn one, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Dean Power just outside in the top five, and right on cue he swings it out, gets the car up the inside. We'll see whether he can make this stick, because it's a tricky corner the way it flows through here. He's going to be on the inside. He just gets it across the nose, and that's a nice job to get himself now up into third spot. Absolutely textbook. I was thinking to myself, he can pull that move off on three cars at once. Doing it on just one John Bradshaw shouldn't be a problem. So props to Justin McLean there, and he's going to have Guy Leach in his sights next. And we already saw both himself and Guy have a really good scrap just at the start of this race, following that move from fifth up into fourth position. Having a look a little bit further back, this is Jack Swainpole getting a move done. This is almost a carbon copy of just what we've just seen Justin McLean do down into turn one, although he runs it very, very wide on that mid-corner and then gets the crisscross put on him, and a little bit of grass contact there just to unsettle the back end of that Porsche. So that dropped him down into the seventh position, and he's got a little bit of work to do now to get back up onto the tail end of Zach Watt-Smith. As I'm keeping an eye on Jack Widders' splits here, so he's sitting at 29.4 seconds back from the lead. He's not going to take the lead or the win in this race. But look how close he's getting to John Van Ree there. He's only about a second and a half, now down to a second behind John Van Ree. He's going to be looking to get that position and as many more as possible in the 7.5 minutes of racing we have left here in race one. Yeah, well, just looking at, as you touch on those times, so he set personal best sector 1 and 2. He set a purple sector outright best sector 3 And now with the aid of a little bit of a draft, as you say, off the back there of John Van Reed, this could be a very quick time as Van Reed runs wide on the outside of turn 12. That's one of those things we spoke of in the pre-race notes there, Hayden. If you don't get the exit quite right, you go around. And looks like Jack Swainpole also has had a moment on the track somewhere. I've just seen a thing flash up to say that he has had some contact with something, as we've got a few more drivers now in the lane. Braden McMullen and Matthew McMullen are in. John Van Reed also into the lane as well. So plenty of drivers getting these first stops out of the way.
Absolutely. It's definitely the most we've ever seen in our 4 rounds here have actually pitted nice and early. So another big moment there. Keeps it off the wall, the 101 of Jack Swainpole. We've seen a couple little moments from him in the last couple of laps. So he's definitely got to take a breath and settle himself back down.
Yeah, just over driving that car a little bit, picks up that grass on the outside of turn 1, and once you get onto that, you're a little bit of a passenger and just rubs the tyre barrier for good measure to rotate that car through. But he will get himself back underway, and we'll keep an eye on his progress moving forward. Still in that top 10, mind you, sitting there in 9th position even after that little half 180 spin that he had.
Absolutely, and it's a great night of racing we've had so far here, Dan. Any standout performances so far?
It's been great racing so far. I think the big one was the Justin McLean move down through turn 1 on the second restart. That was a nice job done to gain 2 positions and get himself up into second place. And he has looked very, very fast out here so far. He's already on the back end of Guy Leach. We watched the guys work their way through 2 and 3 and up towards turn 4 at the end of the back straight. But I think he's a driver to keep an eye on when we go through into race 2. That being said, take nothing away from Chris Mitchell. He has driven a flawless race so far. Best lap time of 1:34.24 and has not put a foot wrong as Jack Swainpole now comes into the lane to get his one and only pit stop completed for the night.
As we see, the top 8 cars on the whole race are the only ones that haven't pitted. This is definitely some form of record we've got going, Dan. Widders now looking at the back end of Michael Gore. So he's sitting 6 seconds back from Michael Gore. Jack Widders arguably one of the fastest guys out there. And Gore will be really wanting to hold on to that 8th position because I believe that would be his highest finishing position so far in the series.
I think you might be right on that one. I'm keeping an eye on the webcam. I'd love to see whether he tries to get the elbows out just as he holds on to that position when Widders comes up to the back of him. So we'll keep an eye on that, see if the chicken wings go out and whether he can hold on to it. But this is a good look here, just as we watch the concentration from him on board there, turning the head into the apex to try and help nudge the car around. And he is doing a very good job there. Down in 8th position at the moment. Our final driver of the top 8 who is yet to come in. But with everyone driving the way they have and those few incidents we've seen, Hayden, he's picked up 18 positions from where he started out this race.
And that's just a credit to keeping it clean, driving the car, not over-driving the car, and staying out of the drama. So huge props to the Filthy Mo. He's looking good while he's doing it. And I really hope he can hold on to that 8th place because it will be his highest finishing position so far in the series.
Certainly will be. So this is the battle now for second position down into turn 1 between Justin McLean and Guy Leach. So McLean gets the job done there, and we'll have a look at how this one unfolds because Leach is back in front. So he's got the run through turns 1, 2, on to 3, and then down the back straight here. I think we see Guy Leach get the redress. He's got the nose right up the inside, got the toe, and just going to send it under brakes there. That's a nice passing opportunity for him. Down into turn 4, slides the Porsche through, the 46 in, and nicely enough, you don't see him throw take the nose of the car away from him. He just holds the position, drives it through nicely, and picks up that 3rd position again, or 2nd position. Yeah,
absolute gentleman racing there. But Chris Mitchell he's definitely stamped it on now. He's got a 6-second lead from Leach. But Mitchell, as we've seen, has made some great moves into turn 1. So this is going to be the 3 cars to watch here as they enter the back straight. It's Leach, and it's also
McLean and Bradshaw. Those guys really looking very healthy on the back here.
So McLean getting right up underneath Leach's wing there, and it's some really good racing. It's some really good stuff to see. So McLean, he hadn't had the perfect season so far here with us. at the NTE Series of 2022. But he's put on a very solid race tonight.
Yeah, look at Bradshaw here, just trying to get the nose across. McLean, very defensive, parks the car right on the inside, and a little bit of contact there.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's right on the edge of not leaving enough room there for Justin McLean, but he was doing everything to try and hold on to that podium position.
That was slamming the door shut. That was very, very clean racing still, but that was pushing some limits for sure.
Yeah, let's see if we can duck back and we'll have a look at the replay on that one, and we'll just see if there's that slightest little bit of contact. And there was just at the critical braking point there. And I mean, looking at the replay, you'd say there's just a car width position in it, but McLean did a good job. He chased him right out to the outside of the circuit, or the inside of the circuit there, just to hold it on. But it has opened the door now to Guy Leach. We're looking at 0.7 of a second between McLean and Leach here, and this could go on as we're down to 1:20 left on the clock. This is coming to our penultimate lap here by the looks of it. I think we'll see the white flag come through, and right on cue, there it is. So one more lap for Chris Mitchell to come home and claim race one honours if he can hold it on the circuit for 4.3 kilometres. The real battle here, Hayden, is going to be this fight for second position between Leach, McLean, Bradshaw and Dean Powell, all scrapping over the final podium positions.
Absolutely, and McLean he's drove a bit of a blinder up from, I believe he started in about 6th position. He's got Bradshaw right underneath his wing as well. These guys are putting on a bit of a clinic, and as I've said, this is something we haven't seen, is that the top 8 are the only cars in the whole race that haven't pitted yet. So it's going to be a really interesting race too that we're setting up to see here, Dan.
It certainly will be, and this fight is continuing on. We've got Leach just holding on to that position up in towards turn 7. McLean likewise trying to fend off the charge here from John Bradshaw in 4th position. Dean Power just looking off the back here to see whether he can pick up the scraps if there is some contact, and keeping an eye on these guys. They've got a little bit of lap traffic though to contend with, which could come into play. I think that car might be Michael Thompson just in front of these guys. So hopefully we don't see that car getting too much in the way, as Guy Leach already through. And we'll go back to our current race leader. Chris Mitchell gets through turn 12 for one more time in race 1, up towards turn 15 through that little kink, and up on to the front straight, pedal to the metal, and the checkered flag is out. This is a great run from Chris Mitchell. Led start to finish, did a stellar job, no issues at all along. The battle for second and third still heating up.
It's going to be close.
Guy Leach get across the line. Dean Power holds on to 5th. Justin McLean holding on to 3rd there ahead of John Bradshaw. That was a great scrap between those guys to finish out the race. You have a look here at McLean and Zeitz working their way across to finish it out. The Makita entry is still looking pretty racy. We saw him come in for the pit stop early on. This is a scrap for 16th and 17th position respectively. And these guys are setting themselves up for a good run in towards race 2.
Absolutely. Zeitz was doing well in his qualifying as well. He's got a good line there. He's looking fast. And he's going to be setting himself up to try to get to that finish line in the front there.
So here's we'll watch these three get themselves across the line. We see one final charge across right in the draft there, and probably needed another 50 metres to get that move done. That will see Ray Oliver get across the line just in front, and we see the battle for 16th and 17th. No positional change for either of those two drivers there, but it was a stellar win there for Chris Mitchell, and he will be getting ready to get back into the start of this one for race 2, Hayden. And as we wait for the last of the guys to come across the line, we will pull up the finishing results. And as you can see, Chris Mitchell comes across the line first, 7-second advantage there over Guy Leach finishing second. Justin McLean in third. John Bradshaw comes home fourth tonight ahead of his teammate Dean Power. Zach Walt-Smith in sixth. Dylan Minchell. Nice drive from him. We didn't speak much of him at all, but comes home in the 7th spot. Jack Wittes there, back to 8th position. That's a cracking drive considering he had the pit stop early on there. Hayden, Michael Gore holds on to 9th. Paul Mansell gets himself home in 10th position. In 11th, we'll see Seb Murray-Westberg. Jared Brones comes home in 11th. Ray Oliver recovering after that contact on lap 1 into 13th position. Jacob Brewer in 14th. Jack Swainpole there in 15th ahead of Matthew McMillan. James Seitz, we saw come home in 16th position. Dean Hunt gets home in 18th, ahead of Brendan McMillan and Tim Nichols in 20th. Cameron Edwards gets home in the 21st position, ahead of John Van Ryn. Cooper Dunn there in 23rd. Our first of our lap down cars tonight will be Shane Newens in 24th, Dylan Seitz in 25th. Michael Akitas, who we saw have some contact on lap 1, gets home in 26th position. Michael Thompson, 3 laps down there in 27th. And Tyrone Anderson, 5 laps off. We saw him unfortunately park that car at the end of that one, and he's home in 28th spot tonight for race 1. And we'll get ready to go across to race 2, and we'll quickly go through our series sponsors again. Just quick thanks for those guys, and we'll have a look here at a quick replay. There we go. Series sponsors up on screen at the moment. We've got Roadrunner for all your asphalting and aggregate needs. Shannons Insurance, no words needed for those guys. They've been a massive supporter of the series, whether it be the NTE Dry Series or the NTE Cup. Breaking Late podcast for fantastic recaps and in race chat and the likes. And SimSpeed TV for the fantastic videos and broadcasting that we've seen so far tonight. We'll take a quick ad break and we will be back ready to go. Well, actually, we'll get a replay just before we duck off to the ad. This is a look, Hayden, back at the lap 1 move there. And this is the run into turn 1. 3 into 1 was a massive job there for Justin McLean. And he did it beautifully to get through there with no damage at all. And then we can see the carnage unfolding in the back end there.
I reckon Justin McLean did the move of the whole season with that, to be honest with you, because 4 into 1 does not go. And 6 into 2nd does not happen on the first corner of a racetrack. So that was fantastic. Big hit in the background, which caused a lot of the issues that we've sort of seen. But we've got a lot of guys out there that'll be pretty hungry to try to really make the most of this second race. It's going to be a cracker.
It certainly will be. We've already got the guys lined up on the grid. We'll take a quick ad break maybe and just come back into it as we get the guys working their way around the lap here.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're just about set to get underway for race 2 here tonight at Interlagos. We've already seen a fantastic race 1, plenty of action early on and some big braking moves and passes galore going on. Hayden, we've got 9 drivers left to get their pit stops completed tonight. It was a big run from everyone in that first race to get those stops sorted. How do we think this is going to unfold for us?
Well, Jack Widders is sitting very, very good position there in starting, I think, in 8th or 7th position. So huge things expected from him this race. But there is a lot of talent sprinkled through the back half of that field. A lot of them wouldn't be in the best mood after the way things started off here. So expect to see some really interesting moves and expect to see the front 6 of these peel off at some point to get that compulsory pit stop done, of course.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see when they want to take this. Hopefully we don't see a second pace car lap as we saw in race 1 here. It looks like the field's still relatively 2x2, a couple of guys just a little bit out of position there. So we come up towards the line, it's green flags out, 21 and a half minutes left on the clock. We're already 3 and 4 wide in the middle of the field here as the guys head their way up towards turn 1. Guy Leach with a big move down the
Huge hit in the
inside.
background. Oh,
Not
no.
quite going to get it pulled off. And Wittes holds on. More action further up in towards turn 1. Plenty of carnage off the start of this one, Kate.
Yeah, that's not what we wanted to see there. Not what we want to see at all. We've got some Porsches scattered everywhere. But it looks like the front-running guys have managed to get through there nice and clean. But Wittes has worked his way all the way up into 4th already.
Yeah, he's done well off the start of that one. We see a few more guys involved in some issues. Looks like Michael Akitas, a second race running, he's had issues down in towards turn 3 there. And we'll see whether he's able to go through. We might see if we can pull back a replay once this all settles down with everyone working their way through. But you're right, Chris Mitchell up towards the sharp end, still holding on to this one, 0.4 of a second at the moment, ahead of Guy Leach. Justin McLean sitting in 3rd. Jack Wittes, the big mover in that top 10 so far, up 4 spots into 4th position. Dean Power holding on to 5th. Paul Mansell, another driver with 4 positions gained off the start there. And I would assume a few of that was helped by some of that carnage that we saw off the start there, Hayden. He's now in 6th position. Zach Watt-Smith back a spot. Jared Burns up into 8th. And Ray Oliver inside that top 10 with Jacob Brewer in 10th. This is a look a little bit further back as the contact. And it's 2 and 3 wide. And we can just see the cars getting into each other. That's really awkward racing from those guys. We'll stick with this one and watch what happens to Hikitas as he continues trying to avoid the issues just exactly like he did in race 1. Actually, he gets through that relatively okay, so that issue might have come a little bit further down. Up, it's a self-spin into the end of the pit wall.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't be happy about that one, but it's not the perfect start to the race, but these guys they'll come out here next time and they'll try to put in together a great race again. But we've still got some great racing here. Chris Mitchell really putting a stamp on it again. Guy Leach over a second back from there. And we've seen Jack Wittes work his way all the way up into 4th already. And Paul Mansell is really flying under the radar here, but he's put himself into a great position as well.
He certainly has. This is another replay that we've seen. James Zeitz involved in this one. I just saw some issues popping up on the timing and scoring here. We'll have a look at see how this one unfolded. It's a big send by one of the... Is that Tyrone Anderson? I think that might have been Dylan Saints going around there. And he has picked up Jack Walt-Smith as a result of that one. We've got a few more guys still going off the field further around and just trying to get themselves out of position. Jack Swainpole involved in this one. He'll be bitterly disappointed with that, Hayden, given the run that he had in race 1.
Yeah, this is some really messy stuff. Like there's no really nice way of putting it. It's not quite to the standard we've seen in the earlier rounds, but it's just a bit of a dirty track out there in Interlagos today, and just a bit of a dirty spin. He wouldn't be the most happy about that, and to cop some damage for it as well. That's not great at all, Dan.
No, and he was a bit of a passenger. Once that car started to rotate off the exit at turn 5, he just had to hold on for dear life there. Unfortunately for him, he did get collected and probably has a little bit of subsequent damage as a result, but should be able to see him continuing on out front. The top 3 starting to settle down a little bit. Chris Mitchell with a 1.5 second advantage there over Guy Leach. Justin McLean further half a second further back. John Bradshaw now in the lane to get his service done. Just in the background you can see James Zeitz coming in for his spot also. But the big talking points here at the moment, Hayden, we've got Jack Wittes and Paul Mansell just inside 5 seconds off the lead of this race, and both of these drivers have already taken their compulsory pit stops tonight.
Yeah, that's actually the battle for the lead in real terms, in adjusted terms. It's Wittes and Mansell. Both of these guys are very much at the pointy end of our championship standings here. Paul's sitting currently, prior to this round, in 4th. He's had a lot of great results in this series so far, and I think it's fair to say he's kind of been Mr. Consistent. Yet to set foot on the podium, but sitting in 4th outright in our championship standings.
Yeah, and he's one of these drivers, along with most of the guys in this series so far, that in the space of, let's say 12 weeks, have adapted from the supercar and the TCR, front-wheel drive, front-engine configurations, and front-engine, rear-wheel drive configuration in the supercar to the mid-engine or rear-engine, rear-wheel drive of the Porsche. And they've done a very good job in adapting with these ones and finding themselves in a good spot here. But Jack Wittes definitely got the fire under the bum here at the moment, looking at the back of third position with Justin McLean, and he will be looking to try and get a move done on these two sooner rather than later, although he does know that both of these guys do need to still come into the lane for their stop.
Absolutely. He doesn't want to be held up by him, but he's also acutely aware that he's not really racing him as well. So, Chris Mitchell is in a good position, and what he's trying to do is really get in some solid laps while he's got nice clean air and try to effectively come out of the pit lane as far up the order as is humanly possible. And again, when you're seeing all that carnage play out behind him, he's not looking at a race win in this race here, Chris Mitchell, but he is looking to really make as many points out of this race as possible.
It certainly is, and you just see up on the top of the screen as we watch this pass for third position continue on, we've got a drive-through penalty being issued to Matthew McMillan for the contact in turn 1 there that set everything alight, and he will need to come back down through the lane. I did see also, while we were watching that battle continue on, Tyrone Anderson unfortunately has had some more issues. That car is back in the lane as well, and he is having a really tough night out here tonight at Interlagos.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a night that a lot of these guys are going to want to forget. There'll be a nice stiff drink before bed for some of these fellas. They'll shake it off. They'll be back here next week. And it is just the unfortunate thing with racing is sometimes it's your day here, Dan, and sometimes it's just not.
Well, that's it. And I mean, it might be a good chance for us just to quickly touch on race 1 as we see a penalty also issued for car 21. They will have a drive-through. That's still in science for contact with the 65 at turn 1 at lap 3. So we saw that one with James Zeitz getting involved in that contact. So those guys will come back through. But, mate, the next one will be an interesting one. We've gone from a lot of fast-flowing GP-style circuits and sort of the club circuits in Brands Hatch. We're off next week to Belle Isle, very tight technical road course, concrete barriers side by side, and that'll be a cracking race to see who is crowned the NTE Dry Series Cup champion.
Absolutely, and that one's going to be our final race of the season, of course, and it's hard to believe we're already looking into our final race, but there's still a lot left to be finished off between these guys. There's a lot of rivalries left to end, and there's still a lot of points left up for grabs. So despite the fact that Widders has had what can only be described as a brilliant night, he doesn't have this stitched up yet, Dan.
No, he certainly doesn't. I mean, there's still plenty of points on offer in not only tonight's race, but the following 2 races of the season. So we'll keep an eye on that. But as we saw, that the championship's still relatively tight at the sharp end of town, and you have one bad night, or let's say the power outage is unable to connect, it could see the championship go the way of another one of our drivers here. As we watch the guys in the top 4 just stretching their legs across the start-finish line, and some more battles a little further down the field. Just duck to a quick replay, and we'll have a look at what has transpired here. So this is Cooper Dunn down in 9th position here, and that's a nice pass just around the outside, trying to hold on to the 666 here, and it's the old crisscross manoeuvre here, Hayden, down in towards the second to last corner, and that's a beautiful pass to get that car through. That was Seb Murray Westberg, who had some issues at the start of this one. He was late getting in and missed the start of the race.
Yeah, he had a bit of dramas. He started from pit lane, but that was a very tidy move. That was actually really nice.
Yeah, he's done very, very well to get that one done, and we'll see him continuing on as we look a little back at the top 3. So this is Jack Widders all over the back bumper there of Guy Leach. Chris Mitchell hasn't really been able to extend the kind of lead that we saw in the opening race. We haven't seen as much carnage at the front end of this field as we did see towards the middle at the start, which has really sort of spread out that mid-pack quite a long way here. But the battle for second place and effectively outright lead of the race is really starting to heat up here. Widders looking very comfortable in that spot there and gets a nice exit through turn 12, and he's actually going to go around the inside here of Leach, who looks like he's just holding that car a little bit higher, trying to get through, and we know he's got to come down the lane very, very soon.
Yeah, Widders could quite easily have just sat back and accepted the fact that these cars are going to peel off in front of him, but he's actually decided to go hell for leather and really, really go at him anyway. And props to the man, because he's got the job done on everyone but Mitchell, who, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but I reckon he's disappeared into the pit lane.
He has. I was just going to say Mitchell just dived into the lane on that one, so we'll keep an eye on this stop and where he's going to feed back into the circuit. Already down in 8th position behind Jared Burns. Cooper Dunn's going to get through on him, so this is going to put him at least back to 10th by the time the pit stops cycle through, already down to 11th spot. So he's going to have his work cut out for him to get back inside the top 10. 15 seconds, the car's down and away through this very long and twisty pit exit here. We'll see where he comes back on circuit. He's going to have a bit of competition around him, so it's not going to be an easy back into the fray for him.
Yeah, he's on cold tyres here. This is going to be interesting to watch for sure.
Certainly will be. We'll go back here. What's happened here to Jack Widders? This is on the run up towards turn 1. So we'll see him get that little bit of contact, and he's just able to work his way through there on Guy Leach. This is a nice run for him. Leachy, though, is doing well to hold with him. He's not in the drafters yet, just picks it up at the back end of the straight here. And you just see how powerful it is in these cars there. Leach almost could have probably got in the inside there, Hayden, to try and retake that second position.
He might have been able to, but I think Leach has accepted, he's not really racing Jack Widders here anyway. Leach knows he has to pit. There's no point really, seriously hurting both of their races for going for a move that's not there and is strictly not necessary. Jack's not going to hold up Guy Leach. He's a very quick driver. So Guy's just going to use Jack, use his slipstream, use his buffer, and Guy Leach is going to be trying to pick when the best time to pit here because he is still effectively racing the likes of Chris Mitchell, who's sitting down there in about 17th, 18th position or something like that. 11th actually, yeah. So he's actually done quite well with the pit rotation there, Dan.
He certainly has. I mean, we've seen so far on average, most of these drivers, as Zach Watt-Smith now in the lane to get his service completed, is about 15 seconds. So it's going to be tight to see where Guy Leach is going to filter back through. If he gets held up too much behind Jack Widders, we could see him maybe drop 1 or 2 positions as a result. But he was, as I said, when he went into the pit lane, only a second behind there. So he is still looking rather racy as we have a look at Dean Hunt and Mitchell getting in and amongst it. This is the battle for 8th position. Dean Hunt, that is, has already come into the lane for his pit stop service. I believe that was race 1 for him. Brad Mitchell still yet to come through the lane, so he is going to fall well down the order when this one cycles through for him.
Yeah, and it is one of the tricky things about all this, and I'd be expecting to see him come through probably on this lap, if not very soon. We've only got 9 minutes left to go. We're halfway through the race. Logical sort of thing to do is to normally pit about halfway through the race, but you do want to try to pick a hole in the traffic to hopefully appear back out in as well, because you don't want to end up fighting 15 people at once either.
No, not at all, but we'll see how that one cycles through. We just got 9 minutes, or under 9 minutes it is, left on the clock here for what has been a fantastic round 4, races 1 and 2 at Interlagos so far tonight. And as we go through, we'll quickly duck through the top 5 just to see where everyone's stacked up at the moment. Jack Widders out front. We've got a 2/10 of a second advantage over Guy Leach, who yet to have his pit stop completed in either of our races, so expect him in the lane momentarily. Justin McLean sitting there in 3rd position. Another one of our drivers yet to take that pit stop also. And we'll just duck back here. What's happened to Brendan McMillan? We'll have a look. He's just got it up on the curb there, Hayden, and throwing the back end of that car away. Fortunately, there's plenty of runoff and doesn't impede any of the drivers. Did he impede any of the drivers on the rejoin? Because that was looking a little bit dicey at the end there.
Yeah, that one made me clinch a bit. I'm not sure how that ended, but it just goes to show it really doesn't take much with these cars. You just need to have 2 millimeters worth of grass under them, and they just beautifully pirouette off into the sticks. So it's a very easy thing to happen.
Certainly is, and we won't make too much reference to the grass here, and hopefully the guys will stay off it a fair bit. But for anyone who knows, they know what that's all about. But this racing is hard and fierce here at the moment. Looking back at Dean Cooper, he's got Brad Mitchell still over the back of him, and Chris Mitchell is joining into this little scrap as well. So this is the battle for 9th position effectively. All these drivers have come down, got those pit stops completed with the exception of Mitchell. So actually, Mitchell will need to get this sorted sooner rather than later, as Guy Leach and Justin McLean both dive in to get their pit stops cycled through. So let's see where these two bring themselves back out into the frame, and that will now promote Paul Mansell and Ray Oliver up into 2nd and 3rd respectively.
This is a ballsy move, has to be said. Who are we on board with? This Chris Mitchell it is, and he's absolutely stuck it up there on 2 cars, and there's a bit of drama in the background, and I'm not sure how that played out.
Wow, that is a big send from a long way back, and but he sent it for all intents and purposes, and got that one done.
Very
and
brave. Wow.
But check out who's got in front of him on the pit exit there. It's Guy Leach. He's made some time up, and he's picked up. He's currently sitting in 6th position, so that's worked out really well from Guy. From 2nd down to 6th, Chris Mitchell sitting now in 7th spot here. So the battle that we saw before, 1st and 2nd, has now turned into 6th and 7th. And let's check out the replay of that fight, because that was a cracking one to watch, and you wouldn't think he'd be going from that far back. A slight lock-up for the 2 inside and outside there. That was Mitchell and Dean Hunt there, and both those guys, unfortunately, running wide. And this is another look at that angle.
Yeah, watch this on board. This is going to be pretty interesting, because he just is going to appear out of nowhere on the left. Here we go. There he is, and just great move. Absolutely great move.
And fortunately, no contact between either of them, except for the running each other off into the grass at the end of it.
Yeah, and Mitchell had really nothing to do with that. They sort of both outbraked themselves and tried to stay out of trouble. But great move from Mitchell, and to end up there on the tail end of Guy Leach, who, he's stuck behind Jack Widdus and just kept things moving. Like, here we go. Mitchell's going to go for it again now, Dan.
Yeah, he'll get that move done and dusted. Leach is going to fight back here, and he's sending it back around the inside of 2. Just going to get the nose chopped on 3. That's just a cracking fight. But I think for Mitchell here, if he didn't make that move into turn 1 a lap ago, he would have been still trying to work his way through and not in contention yet with the likes of Jack Smith. You can see just how far back those drivers are in the back shot there. But Leachy back down the inside into 4. He's going to pick up 6th spot again and just run Mitchell wide a little bit through his measure.
These guys are 2nd and 3rd in our championship, and they're absolutely racing like it too. This is fantastic. And that big move from Mitchell, you're dead right. It was absolutely critical, because he knew he needed to get under the wing of Guy Leach to make the absolute most of tonight. If he can finish up with a 1st place and a 6th place, that is an unbelievable effort from Chris Mitchell.
It certainly is, and Leach is going to be a tough one to get through here. You can just see the car placement, and he's a driver that's been around the traps for a hell of a long time in the Australian community, and with 4 minutes left on the clock, he is not going to be wanting to give up that haul of points there in 6th spot at the moment. Widdus continuing on out front. He's built himself now a hefty 5.5 second advantage there over Paul Mansell, another one of the cool driver entries, sitting in 2nd position. So keep a weather eye on this battle for 6th. It's going to heat up all towards the back end of this race with 4 minutes left on the clock. Ray Oliver doing a very nice job there, up in 3rd position as well. So he's gained 10 spots from this opening run. And we have a look here at Cooper Dunn. He's currently sitting in 5th position. Guy Leach charging down the inside, and Mitchell going along with him for good measure.
He's just going to let him go. He's not even going to try to stop him, because these guys are absolutely flying.
Yeah, I like to see the drivers have a crack. I can understand the reservation of not wanting to be involved in it, especially with these 2 drivers coming at each other. But now he just settles in. He's got the best seat in the house to watch these guys unfold and do their racecraft. But Leachy has got to have one eye on the rearview mirror just to keep an eye on where Mitchell is, the other eye focused firmly in front of him. And now it's all about car placement. For the next 3 minutes, he has got to hit every apex, every corner, get that car just positioned beautifully on the apex and exits to hold on to this spot. You can already see him starting to do that now up in towards turn 8 and turn 9.
Yeah, clear defensive driving starting to play out already. So there is a very fine line between driving defensive and actually slowing yourself down. So Chris Mitchell's not silly. He's going to try to play that into his hands. He's going to try to fake. He's going to try to mislead. He's going to try to get a really ballsy move done into turn 1 again, hopefully, Dan. This is going to be a cracker of a lead to watch.
It certainly is. 2 minutes 30 left on the clock. We're up in towards the final major corner on this circuit. Both drivers getting good traction down. Mitchell with just a little bit of wheel spin on the exit there, so that does drop him back momentarily, but just keep an eye on the power of the draft around Interlagos here. He's going to be right in contention come up to turn 1 here. You can see that gap starting to narrow as they get up towards the timing and scoring line. He's along the inside here, so he's going to go for another big move down the inside. Leach breaks early, and we'll see whether he can try and tip the nose back in, but Mitchell gets that car pulled up beautifully into turn 1, nicely through turn 2. And Leachy just on the back bumper again. Gets a little bit of an understeer moment there off the front end as he tries to hold that nose of the car in. And let's see whether he can return serve into 4.
What a race. What a race. Guy Leach is going to... he's let him know he's there, but he's tucked back in there. He was really looking for the switchback, but Mitchell just placed the car in the perfect spot to make that impossible. Great race.
He certainly has. We're just having a look here at Jared Burns on board, currently sitting in that 4th position. And he's just watching these guys get... actually, they're going to be coming up to him in the not-too-distant future. So we'll see how he's looking. But he's got Ray Oliver just ahead there and setting in nicely in that spot there. He's gained quite a few spots over the course of this race. 8 spots for him already. And he'll be looking at 1 lap left on the clock as the guys get across the line. This battle, though, still heating up for 5th position with Guy Leach all over the back of Chris Mitchell. Jack Widders going to bring us across the line to start our final lap of race 2 here. So he has set the books and going on to get his points haul in if he can make it one more time through. But this is going to be the scrap to watch, Hayden. This fight is going to be on 16 turns. We've got everything left on the cards here for Guy Leach or Chris Mitchell to get one up on each other.
Absolutely. 2nd and 3rd in the championship. 2 guys who've had a cracker of a night. Chris Mitchell really wanting to make the most of that early win and secure a huge haul of points, but Guy Leach doesn't want that to happen, and he's a brilliant driver. These guys have been scrapping all night, and Guy Leach is in a great position here. He's really tucked underneath, and we're looking into this fast right-hander coming up. It's going to be a hard braking point. That's a good line. He's got a good draft, and he's got to make a move on the inside, I think, here, Dan. Here we go.
Yeah, watch Mitchell go to the inside, though. He moves it across, trying to block that off. He can't come back on the outside. He's got to be careful. That'll attract the attention of the race stewards, especially with how tightly these guys are battling. But Leachy's car looks a little bit better. It's got a bit more point and steer at this phase of the race. Big send up the inside, just gets the nose chopped on him up through 6 and 7. We'll see whether he can make the redress through 8. Just a little bit off the back of this one. He'll be now looking to try and hold on to this draft up towards turn 12 and set himself up for that one final last blast across the start-finish line, up towards turn 10 for these two. Nothing in it at all. Mitchell just holding on nicely in through turn 10. It was a wide run there for Leach. I think he might have settled at that point, Hayden. He has dropped right off the back now.
Yeah, he's called it there. Jack Widders is going to be our race winner again. With 4 rounds in this championship, he's won one every single round. And it looks like Paul Mansell will be finishing in 2nd. Ray Oliver, well-deserved 3rd place there.
Jared Burns getting home in 4th. Nice job from him also. He flew well under the radar in that one. Chris Mitchell will get the car home in 5th position tonight. And Guy Leach coming home there in 6th. That was battle of the night, I reckon, for both of those guys working their way through. Cameron Edwards, Dean Hunt, Dean Powell, all still in and amongst it. Dean Powell, he's got the arm up. He's loving the way he got across the line there right at the back end on the webcam. That was a great run to get through for those guys and a well-fought battle for them. Michael Thompson home in 13th, Zach Watt-Smith 15th. And then we can see McCullen there in 15th position. But, mate, that race had it all.
That was some of the best racing we've seen, and also at times some of the worst. But cracking night of racing at Interlagos. So I've got to say, Dan, that was entertaining from flag to flag.
Certainly was. And here are our race 2 results tonight here at Interlagos. Jack Widders takes home the Bickies in 1st place. Paul Mansell there in 2nd position. Ray Oliver gets home in 3rd tonight, ahead of Jared Burns, Chris Mitchell in 5th. Guy Leach, hard fought, comes home in 6th, ahead of Justin McLean, Cooper Dunn in 8th. Cameron Edwards gets home in 9th. Nice drive from him there. And Dean Power bringing home the top 10. On to the 11th position. And we'll see Dean Hunt get across there, ahead of John Bradshaw. Michael Thompson in 13th tonight. Zach Watt-Smith home in 14th. Matthew McMullen in 15th. Jack Swainpole comes home in 16th after his little issues that he had in that race. James Zeitz back in 17th after early contact for him. Brad Mitchell down in 18th. John Renbury home in 19th, ahead of Dylan Seitz in 20th. Brendan McMullen gets home in 21st position. Jacob Brewer in 22nd. Michael Gore in 23rd. Seb Murray-Westberg gets home in 24th position. And that's a good drive from him, considering he was late into the race there, Hayden. Shane Ewan's home 25th. Tyrone Anderson, unfortunately, did not finish the race there in 26th. Tim Nichols, 27th. Michael Hakidis in 29th. That was a great race, mate. We saw everything flag to flag. Race 1 was phenomenal. Race 2, even better with the battles and the guys working their way through on strategy at the back end of that one.
Absolutely, and it was a completely different sort of texture to any race we've had so far, with over half the field taking the early pit stop in race 1, and Jack taking a very brave move. I said it at the time, second place was not going to be good enough for him. He called an early pit stop in race 1. He's put himself in a great situation and a well-deserved victory in race 2.
Certainly has. Well, let's pull up our race 1 winner tonight. We've got Chris Mitchell down in the green room, so we'll bring him up and we'll have a quick chat. Chris Mitchell, mate, congratulations on race 1 tonight. It was a well-fought victory for yourself. You must have been wondering what had happened behind you to come out at the end of lap 1 and you have yourself a nearly 3-second advantage.
Yeah, I was questioning what's going on because I wasn't that fast in qualifying, but just to find out that Jack got slightly sent and a little bit of damage, so he changed his strategy for the race, just meant that I could stay out front and cruise on by.
Yeah, well, it looked like a phenomenal drive from you once that all unfolded. You really well, not headed at all. But the big thing, I guess, we need to talk on while we got you in here is that battle for 5th and 6th position between yourself and Guy Leach, race 2. Mate, that had everything in it.
Yeah, I pitted earlier than planned because I thought I just needed to do something different. I saw my relative go down. I was actually losing a bit of time to the guys behind me because I think Jack was pushing Guy along pretty hard. And I thought, bugger it, I'll pit a few laps earlier than planned and see if I can get the undercut done. Unfortunately, I came out behind a couple of guys who wanted to go 3 wide and had me pinned up against the pit fence into turn 1. That cost me a bit of time. But no, I was living for that battle. That was hard out. Having the tow a couple of times and getting in there, and then he got me back. That was some good, hard, clean racing, just what I expect from Guy.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I mean, it was fantastic for us to watch as well throughout that one. I think, if you didn't make that move into turn 1 where it was 3 wide, you wouldn't have come out right on the tail of Leachy there. Like, when you saw a guy just ahead of you, knowing he'd been behind, what went through your mind as he pulled across the line on you?
Oh, man, it was a little sketchy. It was a little sketchy, but I knew they were either going to fight it really hard, so I was prepared to just try and be the last of the leg breakers and park it there. But it's all fun and games.
No, it was
fantastic.
fantastic.
It came out okay, so it's all right.
Well, you certainly did, mate. You've picked up a race victory tonight, home in 5th in the second one. It was a stellar drive from you all night long. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to thanks to?
Yeah, big thanks to Racecraft Simulations. John Lee, he was actually banging on my door just as we were starting that first race, dropping me off a couple of products to test out. I've been in isolation the last week with COVID, so big thank you to my partner for putting up with me and not murdering me at this point yet. Because it's been a bit tough, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so it's good.
No, that's it, mate. No, look, congratulations on that. And hey, if you got COVID, what else are you going to do? Sit in the rig and just put the laps in. So you done well. We're off to Belle Isle in a fortnight's time. Hopefully we'll see you there fighting for more race victories. And we've got that final round to sort out who's going to be champion. So hopefully we'll see you there, mate. But cracking job tonight.
Thanks, mate. Looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Certainly will. We'll bring up Hayden, our second place driver tonight. Oh, our race 2 winner. Sorry, not second place driver. Race 2 winner in Jack Wittes, and we'll let you take over with this one.
Yeah, great drive there, Jack. Great effort there in race 2. And I've got to say a question at the time. You were sitting in second place in race 1, and you pulled into the pit lane. Did you have damage, or was that pure strategy move?
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of damage from contact earlier on there, but I could feel my steering wheel down a little bit, so I thought I'll pit now and hopefully have a nice clean run in the second race, which worked out well.
And you did do a great job there in race 2 to stay out the drama, but also really push those guys along. Like, effectively, you weren't really racing those guys, so what sort of pushed you to actually really want to get past them?
I didn't have to, but I just wanted to have a bit of fun.
Great stuff. And that's 4 rounds we've ran so far here, Jack, and that's a race win in every round. Hoping to back that up in Detroit next time out, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to Detroit. Love the old street circuits there, so it should be fun.
Excellent stuff, Jack. And anybody you want to thank, and anything else you want to say here tonight?
Just to you guys for putting all this on, and to the family watching back at home.
Great stuff there.
Cracking drive, mate. Hopefully we'll see you back for the final round, and doing a stellar job, mate. You've got one hand on the trophy as it stands, so hopefully we'll see you back for that one. Turning our attention forward, Hayden, round 5, Belle Isle in a fortnight's time, final race of the NTE Dry Series Cup. At Belle Isle, it'll be a very interesting drive for all the guys out here. A very tough street circuit, the walls ever close on the outset. And we've seen it tonight. It's easy to get contact and have a bit of a rough night. You definitely don't want to do it at the likes of Belle Isle. That will chew up cars in no time.
It will chew them up and spit them out. And if someone has a big moment, there's not very, very much room to go when you've got a concrete wall on either side. So I'm really hoping to see our guys clean it up a bit for that race. And hopefully we get to see our front runners really have a crack, because we got to see some awesome racing from Mitchell, Wittes, Leach, Mansell. All those guys tonight were firing. And they're sitting in the top 4 positions in our championship. So we are really shaping up for a cracking end to our series.
We certainly are, and hopefully we'll see hopefully we'll have everyone's coverage and tuning in for that one to check that one out. That'll be on the 7th of August. Before we go tonight, we'll quickly thank all our series sponsors one more time for everything they have done to help us through. And actually, quick announcement too, the Motorsport Australian E-Series Round 1 in 8 days' time. So Hayden, be sure to jump on that one. And we saw a very hefty qualifying race for that one with all the guys in the Dallara at Sandown working to get themselves into that one. And that will be a cracking event to see in 8 days' time for round 1. But before we leave tonight, we'll quickly thank all our series sponsors who have jumped on board to help out this fantastic series. Shannons Insurance for all your house and car insurance. They say no more. They do a fantastic job, and they've been a massive supporter of the NTE series over the years. Roadrunner Logistics and Asphalting, so all your civil works, driveways, potholes, car parking, give them a call up in the NT. They do a stellar job, and it's been great to have them on board the series helping out as well. A big one to the Breaking Late podcast. If you haven't tuned into that before, what are you doing? Get on board with it. They have a fantastic recap of all the round events, tend to pull a few of the drivers in as well. And it's not just sim racing that they'll touch base on in some of their other podcasts as well. So if you're looking for some great Australian podcasts, check out the Breaking Late podcast. And last but not least, SimSpeed TV. We couldn't do the series without them. They've been a massive supporter in coming on for this championship, and we've seen some fantastic video and directing skills. And I'd like to give a massive shout out to Jay Kennedy, who last week, under the weather, had the COVID. He still turned up and helped present a fabulous show for us. For all of us here tonight, we wish you all the very best. For Hayden McMullen, Jay Kennedy behind the cameras, myself, Daniel Lee, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll hope to see you in a fortnight's time at Belle Isle.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.